I think one of the things that she kind of confused, and we've talked about it too openly, that she goes, it's easier for you. I'm like, no, it's not easier for me. I started way earlier. The battle happened since I was like, I don't know, 15, 16, and it went on and on and on and on, and it's still going on till this day. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another brand new episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. If you are a first-time listener, well, guess what? I'm introducing you to the new fucking studio space. I'm over here with Studio 71. Shout outs to them right there. Genius Brain, new studio. I don't have to edit my own shit. I got Robin Couch in the back. Hell yeah. And we have Julia Chow here today.
Thank you.
Julia, it's been so long since you've been on this podcast. Your hair is blue as ever, you Pokemon freak.
Yeah.
I hung out with this girl the other day, and this bitch came in a Pikachu tank top. I was like, yo, where the fuck did you buy this shit?
Did I come in a Pikachu tank top?
You had a Pikachu jersey. You don't even watch anime like that.
What are you talking about? Wait, what do you mean a Pokemon jersey? I think the last time I talked to you, we hung out was when we were walking out.
No, fool. You met up at Jumi at Rolling Heights. What are you talking about?
Oh. I don't remember what I wore that day.
You wore a yellow Pikachu jersey.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah.
My
that's true.
fucking word, dude.
That's true. It was created by Creators Guild, by the way. It's really nice.
We were talking about it on the way here. And
yeah.
One of the craziest fucking car accidents happened, not on the road to us, but in LA. I'm not sure if you guys saw this on the news, but there was a lady who drove in an intersection, straight blasted through the intersection at like 100 miles per hour and fucking smashed into like 2 cars and it exploded on sight. And of course, when something like this happens, who doesn't die?
The driver.
The person who's the fucking driver. So I was reading up about this the other day and she was trying to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Because her fucking boyfriend dumped her, dude.
But like, is that confirmed though? Because that like from what I've seen, the sources is from her friend. It was like, oh yeah, she's having a rough patch with her boyfriend. And then there was speculation. Like I've seen like I think a few TikTok videos where like people were saying if you zoom in on the surveillance footage and you look into like the car that she was driving.
She was eating a burrito.
You see a little like dot like outside the window that consistently follows the car. So people are speculating that it's her arm that was out as she was FaceTiming her boyfriend and saying, I'm going to fucking do it. That's what people are speculating, is that she was like literally FaceTiming her boyfriend and trying to. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true at all. But people are going ham on like figuring out what happened and like what that dot is and like if her arm was actually really sticking out and if she really did it to commit suicide because her boyfriend dumped her.
I've never heard of that theory. That's fucking nuts.
Gotta go on TikTok.
That's okay. Don't worry about that shit. This ain't JK News.
Oh, sorry.
You're gonna have a couple of ding dongs every now and then.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Like when I saw that video, because I think a woman who was pregnant died, right?
Yes, a woman who was pregnant died. Her husband and I think like her kid in the back also died too. So entire family died. So 6 people died, and then 8 people were injured, and she was left with like an arm that. She like left with an injured arm. And I guess like that arm was also the one that people are speculating that she had outside the window.
That's fucking trippy, dude. I actually had a conversation with like a buddy of mine. He's a doctor. And he was telling me that he deals with like a lot of female patients who have, if his female patients versus his male patients, like when they get to know them and when you're like a general physician, you have conversations with a lot of people. He says a lot of these patients have to go through, like female patients who are going through a lot, have a lot of like suicidal ideations compared to men. I'm not sure if that's like statistically true or not, but that's pretty fucking nuts. Because I've said this on this podcast before. I've never ever thought about killing myself. I've never had that thought. So I don't know what it feels like to be in a position where you feel like you want to take your life, especially for something like, I don't know, getting dumped, right? Which that probably is just a catalyst for, something completely else, something else outside of just the breakup. But that's pretty fucking crazy.
But but like also keep in mind though that she works in the medical field and the past 2 years have been crazy.
Yeah,
you're surrounded with a lot of deaths. Yeah,
especially because of COVID and stuff.
Yeah.
Which shout outs to COVID, got me twice. You stupid sons of bitches, fucking got me twice. Shout out to my friend Eunice who gave it to me. You stupid super spreader idiot. She fucking gave me
Did she know?
She didn't know that she was, she didn't feel symptomatic at all. But, you know, she's kind of like in the film industry, so she's traveling around a lot.
Yeah.
And then she messaged me so I already left to Sacramento to see my parents.
Yeah.
So I was in Sacramento and she goes, hey, just to let you know I found out I have COVID.
Oh.
So, but I messaged her, I was like, I already have it, dude. Like, so you were the one that fucking gave it to me, you super spreading bitch. But it wasn't that bad the second time around.
Yeah.
I literally, the only reason why I thought I had COVID was because I took 2 naps. And I never take naps. I'm not sleepy like that. Like, I have trouble sleeping. So when I took those 2 naps, it felt odd, like something was off.
Yeah.
Took the test. I saw a very faint second line. I'm like, COVID. I fucking have COVID, dude. But it wasn't bad, though. The first time, I literally thought I was going to die.
I remember that. I remember I messaged you about it, and you're like, dog, I'm in a hotel right now, and I'm crying because I can't taste anything.
Dude, not even that. I just couldn't go anywhere, so I would just watch people from the window.
Yeah.
And then Pasadena went on lockdown. So my only source of entertainment was people watching. So there was nobody to look at anymore. So I cried. I'm like, that was my only source of entertainment.
You told me you cried because you couldn't taste anything
That too,
anymore.
all of it all together. The idea behind that was, okay, I caught COVID, fine, whatever. I get to be away from the lady a little bit. I'm gonna book this nice ass hotel in Pasadena, and I'm just gonna Postmates food.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Postmates food, and then I'm gonna jack off, and I'm gonna feel fantastic. I get there, I order a fat burger. I get chicken wings, right?
Okay.
I get these lemon pepper chicken wings. I get the blue cheese dressing on the side. I get their bacon double cheeseburger or whatever for fat burger. I sit down. I have the Sprite. I drink the Sprite. I'm like, they didn't put enough syrup in this shit. It tastes whatever. Fine. I eat the wings. I'm like, these wings are fucking bland.
Yeah.
And then I go take a bite, a third bite, and then no taste. So my taste literally disappeared as I was eating.
Yeah.
So it went from, this soda doesn't taste like anything. They forgot to put syrup in it. These wings are kind of whack. Bit into the burger, nothing.
Oh my gosh.
No taste. And I fucking freaked out. I'm like, so now all I have is jacking off. But then guess what? I had body aches. I had a fever. Couldn't even jack off. Everything was taken from me. Couldn't go outside. I couldn't people watch. Nothing. I was so fucking sad. The first thing I tasted, banana pudding. It was on day 7.
Oh, okay.
And then I could barely taste it, like a faint.
So throughout the time where you couldn't taste, how did you eat? Like, did you just force yourself to eat? Like, was that really hard for you?
One thing I can let you guys know, if you ever get COVID, your skin's gonna look super good, dude.
What?
Because all you're doing is drinking water and you're eating healthier things because...
You want to speed up the recovery?
Well, because the thing about that is you eat food for pleasure, right?
Right,
Which is why
yeah.
somebody who's a fat fuck like me, I eat out of joy. Well, when you don't have taste, there's no joy to it. So the only thing that you're left with is how the food makes you feel. So the foods because you're not tasting anything.
Right.
And you're only looking for texture. What has texture?
Yeah.
Fucking salad, fruits, right? It's very hydrating. And then all these foods that are less greasy, not fried or whatever, there's no point in me getting fried food. I can't even fucking taste it. Why would I eat it?
I guess that makes sense that you still have sensation.
Yeah, so that's the only thing you're looking for. And then there's no point in eating chips. And the reason why, once again, is because you're only left with how the food makes you feel.
Yeah.
So when I ate chips, because I didn't have taste, it was only the chips didn't make me feel good.
I can imagine it just being really crunchy and then soggy all
And
of a
it's
sudden.
greasy. You just feel the grease in your mouth
I see.
with no taste. So there's nothing to balance any of that shit out. So I just naturally was eating less calorically dense food and just food with higher nutrition. And then I lost like 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And then my skin was amazing. I remember I just looked at my skin one day and I went, holy shit, you are beautiful. Like, look at this fucking
You should have shot a skincare ad.
I should have. They would pay me or give me some fucking money, dude.
Yeah.
We were talking about it in the car, but you said that you were going through therapy now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hella people during pandemic started going through therapy.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, just because, I think that a lot of us, we don't ever get to think about our own thoughts and kind of, when I was learning through, I forgot, it's like, different levels of like attachment, how people deal with issues.
Right.
But I feel like a majority of the people that I know are typically very, very avoidant. Like they'll kind of dance around these issues because they don't have to. So like with pandemic, it happened to a lot of couples, and I knew a lot of couples who split.
Yeah.
like I've talked about on the podcast where me and Mariel, we had to be faced with each other a lot.
Right.
So because during this time, she and I didn't see each other much in the first place, even when we lived in the same house, because she was always working. And then at the time, the job that she was working at, it was just always long fucking hours. And then I was traveling around doing Send Foods. So we would barely see each other. So a lot of the issues that we had, we didn't have to deal with.
Oh, it was like always postponed until the next
Either
time
postponed,
you guys
and we
had
just didn't
it.
know
Yeah.
that there were so many things we didn't like about each other.
Oh, I see.
And so when we had to sit there every day and I was at the house and I was doing things that she didn't like. So for example, it would be like there'd be dishes in the sink or all this other stuff. But by the time she would come home from work, it would already be clean. But I would wait off until like before she comes and then I do it. So I kind of stack it up and then wash it. But when she's at the house every day, she just looks at it, she goes, he didn't clean his dishes. But in my mind, I'm like, no, it's going to be clean. But you weren't here before. So by the time you came home, it was all done.
Right.
So there were these little small things that would add up, and then we found out that there was other small things that we didn't like, and then we were faced with this idea of like, oh shit, I fucking don't like you, you know, I don't like you at all. And Mariel started going to therapy during pandemic, and it helped her out a lot.
Yeah.
Because she didn't really. I think a lot of people don't believe in the power of therapy. Only because like therapy has like a weird feeling behind it. I mean, you know, something's wrong with you, or
like confronting every issue you have in your life.
a lot. And listen, like that's the hard part with therapy, right?
Yeah, that is the hard part. Yeah,
having to be vulnerable enough to talk to somebody that you don't know, which honestly is the best because you don't have to worry about them judging you.
Right.
And then having to sit there and fix the problems that you know have been there for a very long time, but you didn't want to face.
Right. Exactly.
Because if you have that avoidant behavior. You can dodge it all the fucking time.
Dude, that's like literally what I was just telling. So like, I wanted to go just so I can like put like my best foot forward, right? Like trying to live my best life, you know. But like, what is going up with me? What can I improve on, right? And I think like one of the things that have been like really frustrating for me was that like I have an idea of like what kind of relationship I want with my parents, and I feel like it's kind of hard to do that without having to like just swallow your feelings a lot of the times. And then another part was just like me getting frustrated about like, you know, I say a lot of things and I say things out loud because I want to have meaning to it. But then like I can't seem to like follow through with it, right? So like, you know how all the bajillion times that I've like filmed with you, David, I'd be like, yeah, check out my YouTube channel. But then like I never like actually like, maybe I post like one or two, but like in like how many years, right? And I just kind of felt like, I say it because I really mean it, but then like a part of like, I'm like, I feel like I'm halfway there, like I have it, but then like I just need to finish the rest of the half to it. And like, I just didn't know why, right? Like I didn't know what was like preventing me from like getting to that other half. And so going to therapy about that, she was just like, it seems like you're just avoiding a lot of certain feelings. And I was like, feelings, huh? And she was just like, yeah, like it just seems like, because like a thing that I tend to do is I talk myself out of it, like a lot of things, right? Where it's just like, oh yeah, you know, I wanna do YouTube video, and then like as I'm like doing it, it's like, oh, I don't know about this, like maybe I should change it like that, and then like I make it way more complicated than it needs to be, and then I just end up not doing it because I was like, whatever, man. Like at this point, I'm like, I can't do it. Like I'm overwhelmed now at this point. And then with my parents, it's like, well, it's mainly like with my mom. Like my dad, he's pretty chill for the most part. Like he's very supportive, and he's like, you know, like I want you to do whatever you want to do. And then with my mom, it's like she like nitpicks at me for like a lot of things. I mean, like I feel like it's expected to happen because, you know, I am still like her child, and like I'm living at like home, right? And I'm sure that, you know, she has like her home, like she wants her home to be a certain way, but I think it also hurts to see her child like not necessarily taking care of herself really well. And I think like
do you feel and I think I've seen this theme so much with young Asian girls, where do you feel that when you set boundaries with your mom, that you feel like you're being a bad daughter?
Oh, of course, 100% of the time.
Yeah, like I've heard that so often. Like, not being able to stand up to your parents because you feel like you're failing your parents as a good kid. Like I'm a good kid, so when my parents tell me to do something, I do it. And when you don't do that, even if it hurts you, it makes you feel. It's weird because it makes you feel good that you're being a good child, but being a good child takes away from your humanity, right?
Exactly.
You being an adult, because at a certain point when you're an adult, you have to make your own choices.
Yeah.
And like a lot of like Asian homegirls like dealt with this, right? I'm a good girl. I've always been a good person. I'm a good girl. If I talk back to my parents, then I'm a bad person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I just remember like just trying to set boundaries with my mom, even prior to therapy. Like, you know, I would usually like just throw a fit, right? But then after I throw the fit, I'm like, oh, I just feel like a fucking brat because like I just threw a fit and I was angry at her when maybe like she had a valid point, right? And I just feel like okay, so one of the more reoccurring things is like the amount of food that I eat, right? I think I eat just fine. Like, I'm not trying to like skimp out or anything. It's just that if I'm full, I'm full, right?
Like a normal human being.
Like, if I'm full, I'm full. But like,
not in an Asian household.
Let me tell you.
Look at that plate. What, you're not eating this plate?
Yeah.
What? You have any idea how many hours I spent? I raised this pig outside myself. I slaughtered it. I slaughtered this pig for you to make this fucking dumpling, and you're not going to eat it? Well, yeah, I guess you fucking don't love me.
Let me tell you, there was a time when I went in Japan in my sophomore year of college with like a friend of mine, and we stayed at like an onsen, right? Or ryokan, I don't know how you pronounce it, but like it was an onsen, but they also had like a meal, right? It was a feast. It was like a huge ass meal. Like it just kept bringing food in all the time, and I just remember thinking like, oh my god, how is two people going to finish eating this thing? We managed to do it, and I just remember at the end of the meal, I was like, gotta thank my mom for prepping me for like these 21 years of my life. I wouldn't have been able to finish this food without her. It was like the training of it all was that like she wanted us to eat so much food that in order to get through it, it was just speed. Like, you just had to eat. You just had to eat really fast before you get full.
Jesus.
Yeah, and so, like, because my mom, like, you know, if there was, like, a little bit of leftovers left, she was like, oh, no, like, it's not gonna be good. Like, just finish it. And you're just, like, literally forcing yourself to finish it, right? And so she's done that with everybody in the family. Like, everybody, right? Got to the point where it was, like, sending me mixed signals as a kid where my mom was like, oh, you should eat, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm eating, right? And then like I see my grandma on my mom's side and she's like, oh, you're so fat. And I'm like, great. You know, like I'm listening to my mom and I'm eating and my mom's not saying that I'm fat, but you grandma's there saying that I'm fat. And then it just kept happening. And then like, I think I remember like when going on a road trip up to NorCal to visit like my mom's side of the family, my mom was like, oh, you should eat this. And I was like, no. And then cause I was already preparing myself for like thinking about like what my grandma would say, right? It's like, oh, you're so fat. And I was like, oh, I'm sure I'm fucking fat. And I just ate on the car right over, you know? But obviously like it's just such a battle with my mom about it, right? And I know that she means well, right? Like I think moms preparing food for their kids is like a really strong love language for them, where it's just like I cook this food for you because I want you to be healthy and I want to be able to nourish you, right? But like after a certain point in time, I'm like, I'm too full. You're gonna make me throw up at this point, right? And I just remember like I would have these bickering moments with my mom, and like my brother, like who's been living up in NorCal for like 10 years, like he'll come back down like once a year or so, right? And this fight just happened like when he was down here, and he told me, he's like, hey, don't talk to mom like that. And I was like, excuse me, bitch. You haven't been living with mom this entire fucking time? And I was like, you have the fucking audacity to tell me not to tell mom that I'm full and that I can't eat anymore, and I'm drawing this boundary and I'm being mean on purpose because she's not listening to me, right? And then in recent times, because like he moved back down and now he's dealing with my mom a lot more.
He knows what's up now.
Dude, he does know. And he was actually telling my sister-in-law, and my sister-in-law told me, she's like, you know, I think you'll be happy to hear this, but your brother now appreciates the work that you've done. Like, to set that boundary with your mom.
Like, setting boundaries with parents is very, very difficult. Yeah. There's, like, this whole... And I think, too, it gets harder as you get older, too, because you start becoming a more empathetic person as you get older. Like, you start to understand that your parents are people. They have their own needs, their own wants, and, you know, that empathy sometimes starts to eat away at you because you understand their plight, because you understand what they're going through, you understand why that they're giving you all this food, you just say, okay, I'm just going to have to deal with this, right? And then you start going through this whole psychological battle where you go, they're not going to be around here for a very long time, so I should always just make them happy. The hard part about that, too, is that I think, yeah, that's true to a certain extent, but at what point does it become where it takes away from you? Because, yeah, they have a limited time on this earth, well, so do we.
Yeah.
And so for the next 20 years, are you going to take away this important thing from you your whole life, or these 20 years of your life, just to make this one person happy.
Right.
But the reality of the situation is that they can also still be happy, and so can you. And there's a better solution than just having to listen to them all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And I think for Mariel, she also had issues with her mom too, and setting those boundaries. And for her, I think one of the things that she kind of confused, and we've talked about it too openly, that she goes, it's easier for you. I'm like, no, it's not easier for me. I started way earlier. It's the battle happened since I was like, I don't know, 15, 16, and it went on and on and on and on. And it's still going on till this day. I was like, the difference is I started really early.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was like, you weren't, and I had to tell, like, look, you weren't around when my father kicked me out of the house because I wasn't a good son, and I had to live outside. I didn't talk to my parents for 2 years. But because of that major fight that happened, just to shorten the story up, my father had to realize that, listen, and my mom told him this because she was very, very good about this. She goes, listen, like, if you want to have a relationship with your son, you're going to have to let go of the fact that you just always want to control him. He goes, if you wanted a Korean American child, then or a Korean child, we should have stayed in Korea.
Yeah.
But he's a Korean American, and he has all these wants and needs and all this other stuff that he wants to do, but you don't want to do that because you have an idea and a lifestyle built for him.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the lifestyle that you wanted, we should have never came here, and that's your responsibility. And so, but it took a long time. That's like a year and a half of not talking to him,
Yeah,
you know, and just disappearing and kind of doing my own thing. So that was really, really fucking hard. But having to set those boundaries early on. And by the way, even afterwards, I moved back in the house and we kind of reconciled a lot of our stuff. It didn't fix it immediately.
Right.
We fought, we cried, we yelled at each other, screamed at each other, broke things for another like 6-7 years. And then only until like, I say about like 6 years ago or so, we haven't really gotten into fights.
Yeah.
But it took that boundary setting of me saying like, listen, I understand you have this, but you can't do this to me anymore.
Yeah.
And like one of the first boundaries that I set with my parents, my dad had this habit of calling me stupid. And I told him like, the reason why I stopped talking to him for about a year and a half, because I set this boundary with him. I said, hey, say whatever you want, be mad at me, whatever, frustrated, don't ever call me stupid. You call me stupid, you'll never see me again.
Yeah.
Well, he called me stupid one more time, and that's why I left the house. But I called his bluff. He didn't think that I would do that, right? Because I'm his son, I own you. You do as I tell you to because I always know what's best for you. Well, if he knew what was best for me, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. Yeah. And when we had our last major fight was because he, you know, parents tend to have a selective memory. You know.
Yep. They sure do.
A lot of the shit that they do to you, they go, that never happened. Oh, God. And then how fucking mad does that make you feel? It makes you feel fucking infuriated because it's super dismissive of all this shit that you've been dealing with mentally. And they go, that never fucking happened.
Yeah, I know.
And so my dad, he basically said like, listen, like, oh, you wouldn't have been a comedian if it wasn't for me. And then that shit set off this whole fucking chain.
I hate when they try to take credit for the things that you do. And you're just like, But in some way, I mean, like, do you think?
No, listen. My father is a great man. Yeah. Right? Always his intentions and what he wants for me is always in the right place. Right? And I had a lot of behaviors when I was younger that made him concerned for me. So his level of protecting me was too much. Yeah. So for example, my dad had this habit of not allowing me to try things. Yeah. Because if I would try to do something and it wasn't done in the way that he wanted it done, he would be like, you don't know what you're doing, let me do it. Yeah. But when you do that to your kids, specifically like Asian parents do this a lot, or it might be an immigrant thing. Maybe it's because they like being in that role of being in charge, or they want what's best for their kids. You kind of handicap your kid. Yeah. I didn't know how to do so many things going into my 20s because my father would call me stupid, push me aside, and he would just do it for me. And I got tired of that. I'm like, listen, just let me fucking do it. Let me fail. Let me try. And the funny thing is that the part that made me really infuriated was that he used to get mad at me because I wouldn't know how to do things.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, it's because of you. Like, you won't let me try. Let me fucking fail. And the funny thing is that he instilled that quality in me, but he would get mad at me for doing the quality that he instilled in me. So I'm like, this is so confusing.
You're in a catch-22. I've had arguments with my mom like that before, and I was just like, just let me make mistakes. Just let me do it, Mom. Just let me do it. And she was like, I don't want you to do it because I want you to get it right the first time. And I was like, why is that so bad? It's like, why is it so bad to just fail? She was like, because I've been through that, and I don't want you to go through that. And I was like, but like, I feel like the situation is different, you know? Yeah. And so like, they obviously, me and my mom still like fight about that, or it's just like, I want to still be able to do my own things. But then I think for her, like, she has a preference of like what she wants me to do.
The hardest part about those conversations too is like, just when they say, oh, it's not so much that we know what's best for you. It's more along the lines of, I don't want you to feel this pain or whatever, but it's like, listen, my mom came to that realization earlier than my dad did. And it happened in the way, I kind of realized this when she would talk to me about relationships. And when she started to realize that I was my own individual and she couldn't really control me, only because she realized that I'm a mirror, like a spitting image of her, she goes, oh, he's going to do what he wants. This is who I am. This is a child that I raised. So, and my mom would say this in Korean. She goes, 나쁜 것만 닮았어, which means like you only inherited all my worst qualities.
Oh.
You know what I mean? She goes, how is it that you have all my worst qualities but none of my best qualities? And it's true. So she kind of understood that he has to find his own way. He's gonna have to do his own thing. And my mom, and I kind of realized that when I asked my mom when I was single at the time, and she said, and I asked her, I was like, oh, you want me to be with a Korean girl? She goes, no, it would be nice, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to be here forever. I'm going to die. And so you are going to just be left with your own life choices and the people that you're married with. I'm not married to the woman that you're with. If you have a happy life with her, that's great. But it is going to affect our relationship because I can't speak Korean to her. So it would be nice if she could speak Korean. But if not, I understand because I won't be here. It'll be your wife, your kid. But my dad didn't understand that. I was still his son and I was under his protection. I have to do what he tells me to do. And until he came to that realization, it was just we would butt heads all the fucking time because it's, I know what's best for you. Why won't you do what's best for you? Why won't you do what's best for you? Or is it what's best for you? And that's just, it's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with too because I've also inherited the habits that I hated from him. I inherited it too. And I found that in my relationship with Mariel.
I learned from my therapist, she was just saying like, we're going to practice more assertive communication. And I'm like, fantastic. That's great. Yeah, assertive communication. Because like, I think I come from a very like avoidant family. Like a super avoidant family. Because like my mom is like highly anxious about a lot of things. And she's always worried about what other people think about her and like what her actions speak. And she always treats other people better than like just I guess like the people like closest, right? But I feel like that also kind of
girl, I feel that too. Oh, I know what you said. I know what you said. Oh, I knew what you said. Yeah.
And so my dad. So there was a time where I was fighting with my mom. And like we just had a disagreement and I was just standing my ground. And I just remember there was a time where I went out with my dad and we were driving in the car and he was saying like, hey, I got to tell you, like, you got to stop fighting with your mom. And I was like, why? And then he was like, because she's your mom. And I was like, oh, just because just because she's my mom doesn't mean that I can't fight with her. Right. Yeah. And then he was like, look, trust me, after all these years of marriage with your mom, it's better to just concede and let her have her way. And I was like...
It's like, well, Dad, I ain't no pussy like you, all right?
And I basically told him, I was like, look, Dad, it's like, you can do that yourself, but where has that gotten you?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, you're unhappy, Dad. Like, I know you're unhappy, right? And it's like, for me, it's like, I'm still fighting because, like, I want to change. Like, I want us to be able to, like, change something about our dynamic, Because, like, I don't want Mom to have to be anxious all the time, right? But then I also don't want her to have to, like, rag on me all the time either.
Yeah.
And so then my dad was like, oh, that's just, like, caused, like, so much trouble. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, look, I've done that before, and in the end, I just got hurt. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then so he like left it at that and he didn't really want to talk about that. But like my dad is like also like not a very confrontational person. Like he's kind of a quiet guy. And then with my mom is also the same thing, right? It's like she doesn't like for something that's very important to her, she doesn't like to confront it. But then like she has no problem just nitpicking at me and like all of my flaws. And I'm like, thank you, Mom. Thank you so much. And I think like my therapist was basically telling me, it's like, you know, like, because I already told her, like, a lot of the times when I'm, like, talking to her, I'm like, I know all these things. I understand all these things. Like, I can never control other people's actions. I can't control, like, what they think about me and blah, blah, blah. And I can't control, like, what my mom says. It's just, like, I just don't like what the things that she says to me, right? And she just basically says, like, you know, now we just need to practice on how you react to it. Like, all you can do is just how you respond to it.
Yeah, it's
and
like
then,
the thing that's in your locus of control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so she was saying, like, yeah, you know, like, if your mom says, like, oh, you're a messy person, just be like, okay. Thanks. Yeah. You know, it's just like, you know, like you don't, she was basically telling me you have the option to not be angry and react to it. And I was like, that is so hard, lady.
Oh,
like,
no, okay.
That is so
I mean, that's
hard.
great advice. A lot easier said than done.
Of course.
Because it's like, you know, somebody just comes by you and they go, what's up, bitch? I'm like, well, I have the option to ignore the fact that this man called me a bitch and I could just, way easier said than done.
Yeah.
And, you know, what I'm finding out too, specifically in comments and when people message me or whatever, is that, because you know me, I'm not an avoidant person.
You're not.
I'm not a very avoidant person.
Which I think I admire about you because like that's everything about me where I'm like, I'm avoidant, but I admire people who can be confrontational because I'm like, man, how do I get that?
Well, now I've become somebody who's not avoidant, it's not even like, I'm not like that by nature. It's just how my mom is. And so I've inherited that. Mm-hmm. I'm also, but as I've gotten older, I've just learned to be a lot more tactful, right? Because before it would be somebody would do something that's super annoying or, you know, super out of pocket, and I would tell them to shut the fuck up and get the fuck away from me. And now I navigate those situations a lot better. I either stay away from those situations or I can embarrass them in a nicer way, you know? So, what I realized, you know, going back to the whole comment thing is that I will tell stories about me being very, very abrasive and I guess like me calling people out. And then other people, you know, sometimes you would read comments and they say, oh, that didn't happen. There's no way. I was like, oh, because you're an avoidant person. I'm not that person. You know? But what I'm saying is that I think a majority of people are like that. So when they hear stories about me where I tell these people, and I have other people on the podcast who can corroborate these stories that I'm literally like this, they don't believe it. They go, no way, because I don't do that. Because I would never, I would die on the inside. I don't die on the inside. I'm not a very avoidant person when it comes to confrontation.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that, or the reason why I live like that is because I have a habit of having things eat me up on the inside. So I need to fix these issues now because I need to progress with my day.
Yeah.
So for example, when I was back home, my parents, my brother and my dad got into a fight. They always get into a fight. And the reason why they fight till this day is because they're fucking twins.
Oh, God.
They are exactly like each other. That's why me and my mom argue, right? But the difference between me and my dad and my brother and me and my mom is that my mom, me and my mother, we understand that we're so fucking similar. So we can hash our shit out real quick. The problem with my brother and my dad is they don't realize how similar they are to each other. So they always think that they're better than each other.
That's so true. I feel like my older brother is like similar to my dad in a lot of ways. Because like my older brother is quiet, but he's like very lively as well too. Like, you know, like
he's super funny.
Yeah, right? Yeah, you met him pretty briefly. Yeah. But like, like with me and my mom, I feel like we're similar in a lot of ways, which is probably why we clash a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen that way too. And also too, because you're living at home now, you're just, it doesn't matter who you're with. It could be your best friend, somebody that you have everything in common. Proximity makes you go crazy because after a while, just the little things start to bother you. These small things that normally you could just not have to worry about. And Mariel put it to me the best. She goes, you know, when we were going through our rough patch, I go, you know, sometimes I feel that you show more understanding to your friends and to your other peers than you do to you're like the person that you're with. And I think for her, how she explained it too was, you know, she's an avoidant person, but I can avoid issues with other people because I'm only going to see them once in the next 2-3 months. So why bring up something and ruin this moment when I'm not going to even see them for the next couple of months? I was like, but with you, I'm living with you. So it just eats at me all the time. And so I have to say it. And so we had to find a perfect medium of like, listen, there are times when there are battles that should be fought and things that should be left alone. And you have to process that in your head first before you go ahead and shit on me. There are things that I fuck up on that I have to fix. Those things bring it up to me. But if it's like, he left chopsticks on the table, right? Put it in the sink. And I'm like, you do that stuff too sometimes? It doesn't bother me because I just take it and I just put it in the sink.
Right.
I don't have to always feel like I have to vocalize things that that bother me all the time when I could just fix it on the spot and then move on from it.
Yeah.
Because we're not looking for each other to be perfect human beings. We're partners. We're gonna fill in the gaps that I can't fill in personally, and you're gonna fill in that gap for me, and I'll do the same for you. So when we have so many things to worry about, we have to learn how to let things go. Parents, on the other hand, Asian parents don't understand that concept. Yeah. It's every little fucking thing matters, and I need to address it. If I don't address it for my kids, they're gonna become a shitty person. If they're a shitty person, it reflects on me and the family. Then other people will say, you raised a piece of shit daughter, and then I have to deal with that. Don't you know what I'm going through, Julia?
Yeah, exactly. That's what my mom tells me all the fucking time.
Why?
Because I don't know.
Like we live in a fucking, what are you, like she in a Chinese dynasty? Like what is this? You know what I mean? Did you know what the emperor said about our place? Like, no, relax, man. Yeah. And specifically, I grew up in a church. And the last time my mom ever said this to me, I flipped the fuck out. And because I got so sick of this, I heard this my whole life was, do you understand how you reflected on us in the Korean community? And I looked at her and I said, fuck them. I was like, I could give a fuck less about them. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, these people do not matter to me. They are gonna die. I'm going to die. Do you think that I'm going to live my life till my very last breath based on what these people think about us and our family when they don't know what's going on in our day-to-day lives?
Yeah.
Fuck those people. I don't care about them.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't care about me. If their whole life revolves around them worrying about what we do because I don't know, I shaved my head or something, so clearly I'm a gangster now. This kid who played Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I guess I'm gangbanging on the weekends after I fucking play Yu-Gi-Oh with my friends. Relax, Mom. Like, cut that shit out. But, for us being a part of a church community, because my father was a pastor, Asian people be gossiping, man.
Yeah, all the fucking time.
All they do is gossip, all the fucking time.
Yeah.
But that's why my dad's not a part of these Korean churches anymore, because it was like ruining our personal family life. And it made me feel as a kid, especially, as a pastor, you're tending to so many other people around you. You feel neglected as a child.
Yeah.
Like you're so good with other people, but how come you can't show that same love and care to me and my brother? Because you're so understanding, you listen to their stories, but every time I say something, you think that I'm dumb.
Dude, I feel that same way, because my mom, she just cuts hair, right? And so, I think she, I think she really prides herself in doing that. And I think she should, because, that's her job, that's
her craft,
that's what she's been doing, right? But it gets a little too much at times. And I feel like whenever she does something nice for the family, it almost feels like at the expense of being her emotional punching bag, because it's I took time out of my day and I made you this food and you're not even eating it, and I'm just I'm sorry, I didn't know that I didn't ask you to schedule this time out, and you kind of did it, right? And when I say that, it sucks, because it's just kind of I'm not trying to be a bad daughter, and it's I'm not trying to also be inconsiderate, but it sounds so inconsiderate because it's somebody who did take time out of their day made food for me, right?
Yeah, and that's your empathy side, which is a really good thing to have. Yeah.
And and I'm just fuck, right? But then also another part is why are you getting mad at me? It's why are you getting mad at me for? It's what?
And how I see it now is that, when parents do this, it becomes habit form, where to the point where originally the idea, especially when you see a kid growing up, is that I'm doing it for you, but it becomes a point where they're doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
I want to be important in your life.
Exactly.
I want to be somebody that's still needed in your life. So I have to make this food, because if I don't make this food for you, then you don't have a purpose for me.
Dude, this other day, literally yesterday, my mom, So I'm on vacation right now, right? Which is why I could be on here hanging out with you, right? So I'm on vacation, I was able to get a month off of work, right? Just because I haven't had a break for the past 2 years or even several years.
It's very Asian of you.
Yeah, no, literally right after YouTube, right? I got a job a week after. Immediately. And I honestly thought it was going to take me 2 to 3 months to find a job, but I got it so quickly that I was okay, I guess I'll just go with it, right? Because this
opportunity.
This is my chance to be in animation, right? And then I was just working, and then 2 years go by, and I'm what the fuck happened? And so I luckily the next project I'm on, they don't necessarily need me right away. So I was able to get this month off, right? And so my mom knows that I'm on vacation. And just the other day she was what good are you when you're on vacation? And I was I was like, that is so mean,
I don't
Mom.
take vacations.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. She was like, I said, I don't take vacations, you know.
I was like, well, look at you. You
Yeah.
stress the fuck out all the time. Go take a fucking vacation.
And she was literally complaining about all the things that she had to do, which is a lot. You know, I get like as a homeowner, there's a lot of things you need to tend to. You know, you got to tend to like your landscape outside, right? And then you also have to like clean the house and blah blah blah, right? And it's like I'm more than happy to help my mom with these things, right? But she was just on a rampage of just complaining about like all the things that she needed to do, right? And then how she doesn't have enough time, and then, you know, like she's working. It's like, oh, you know, like I would love to have a vacation. And I told her, I was like, you could.
You own your own business.
Exactly. That's exactly what I told her. And I was like, look, I was fortunate enough that my company is big enough where there's people that are able to cover me if they need somebody of like a similar position, right? So that I could take this break, right? And then she just belittled everything about it, and then she was just like, "It's like, ha, ha." I was like, I can't take a vacation. People need me. And he's like, you think that my customers will wait around for 2 weeks if I took a 2-week vacation? And I was like, yes, they would. And she was like, huh, no, joke's on you. They will find somebody else. And I was like,
well, see, that's what I'm thinking. Like,
what the hell?
Like your mom literally does that thing where, you know, it's like she's basically gaslighting people, you know, because she's making it sound as if it's, I do this for them.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you do it for you because
Yeah.
it gives you purpose.
And like, I see that, right? And I think that's what makes her like really anxious, right? Because she's in this cycle of feeling that like she's getting fulfillment from her customers.
Yes.
Because like it's a need of hers to feel needed and to feel wanted, right? And if she doesn't have that, then that just makes her really anxious, and then it
She
just
loses
makes
her
her
purpose.
think exactly. And so like I was just trying to, because there was a time where she was telling me about a story about how there was a customer that left and then came back because she had a botched hair job, and she was like, oh, can you please fix it? You're the only one that can fix my hair. And my mom was like, I charge her the same price. And she was like proud about that, and I was like, why would you do that? It's like I was like, I mean, good for you that she came back to you and she sees the value in you, but it's like you should have just charged her more. And then she was like, but why? And I was like, because she didn't care about you the first time around.
Yeah.
You know, she left you, so you can charge her more if she's that desperate to get a haircut from you, right? And because like my mom was at that time too, within that conversation, she was complaining that she couldn't charge enough. You know, like, because like she wants to be able to charge, but she's afraid to charge more because she's afraid of losing her customer base. So like a lot of the things that she's doing, like, which I see myself in my mom a lot, where I'm like, you're avoiding a lot of these things, and like you should just do it and just be okay with it, right?
It's just it's a scary thing. Like I said, for her, it's a dependent thing of like to be wanted. This is why she does the food thing.
Yeah.
You know, she creates this food for you because she wants to feel like this is that's why a lot of Asian parents, and I'm pretty sure other people can attest to this too. I'm not sure if you have ever asked your parents to teach you how to cook something and they just go, I'll just do it. You know why?
No, my mom has taught me. Yeah.
But I've seen this a lot, especially with my mom. I know why she does this is because she doesn't want me to make something that she could make because I don't need her to make it anymore.
Oh.
You know, it fucks with her a little bit. Mm. And, you know, for her, you know, if I told her this too, I was like, it doesn't matter if you think I can make it better.
Yeah.
I'm still going to want you to make it.
Yeah.
You know, because that type of food stuff, it's not just food. It's an emotional connection I have towards my mom. That's like our relationship. Like, I'm not going to take this recipe and be like, I don't need you to make it anymore. No, motherfucker, if you're going to make it, I'm going to take it from you. You know?
Right.
Like, it's going to, like, when I went back home recently, I was like literally eating the food. I take one bite, and she goes, what do you think? I'm like, let me chew. Let me swallow. Let me taste. Be quiet. And she goes, I just want to know if it's good. I was like, I don't know yet. Let me eat. And so as I'm like eating, she's just like, I'm literally chewing the food, and she goes, what's the taste like? Is it good? I'm like, listen, hey, let me eat in peace.
Yeah.
I was like, if it wasn't good, do you think I would be devouring this food in front of you? Like, let me eat, and then I'll tell you it's good. She goes, I just want to know. I was like, I can't let you know because food is in my mouth. You know? It's just like, after I ate, she goes, did you think it's good? And I'm like, there's nothing in this bowl. There's nothing in here.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I was like, I'll give you the verbal affirmation, but you got to let me say it. Like, don't force it out of me.
The most common one that I've been hearing from my mom recently is it too salty? I honestly think she's losing her taste at the moment.
Oh, really?
Like, because, like, I think, I don't know. I feel like after, like, a threshold, right? If you've been eating salty foods for a while, all you just want it is to be, like, saltier, I guess.
Oh, for sure. Like, when I got done with the whole COVID thing,
Yeah.
and, you know, for those 7 or 8 days that I was in the hotel,
Yeah.
I was only eating salads, no dressing, no nothing.
Yeah.
And then few months after that, I started getting my taste back.
Yeah.
Everything was hella salty. Like, I couldn't eat chips because it would burn my mouth. Because I'm just not used to that, like, sodium level.
Yeah.
So it was super, super rough. But yeah, you know, it's kind of cool that you're talking about this because I feel like a lot of young girls in your position, they also deal with this. And being super avoidant of these situations, though, is very uncomfortable. At the end of the situation, I'm not saying that people should do this with their parents because you're trying to, you know, sun them or show them up.
Yeah.
I'm saying that do this so you could end up with a better relationship with them.
Yeah, like, have inner peace about that.
Yeah, because...
Because I think, you know, we all have an idea of, like, what we want our relationship with our parents are. And, like, sometimes we kind of have to just be flexible on that idea. Because, like, you know, like, oh, I just want everything to be fine and dandy between my parents, right? But, like, I know they're not fine and dandy. I know that, like, they're not happy.
And it would suck for your parents to pass away and then for you to hold resentment towards them. And I think that's the end goal. It's everybody wants to avoid the immediate discomfort in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because it hurts.
Yeah.
But a lot of great things happen because of the discomfort that you face. It's growing pains. It's literally growing pains. And so you have to face that situation to kind of work towards something better. It's going to suck. And that's the thing, too. Sometimes when I talk about this stuff and I talk about my personal situations, like I say, they go, it's easy for you. Who the fuck said it was easy?
Right.
Who in the fuck? Like, I never said it happened overnight. I'm saying it was a struggle. It was a lot of tears, a lot of fighting, a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of, like, therapy for me trying to understand why my father does the things that he does. And it was such a fucking struggle. And a lot of the times, too, we forget that, you know, when we're kind of in our own shit and we're in our own pain, we don't really care about what somebody else is going through.
Yeah.
So having to deal with those emotions while you're trying to better your life but still kind of be mindful of them is another fucking struggle that you have to deal with.
Yeah, I definitely realized that, like, even though, like, we kind of view our parents as, like, you're supposed to know everything kind of deal, and, like, it's like you're supposed to be able to, like, adjust for me, right? And I think my therapist, like, was saying, like, you know, like, it's a learning process for both you and your parent, right? It's like it's gonna take some time. And I think it just, like, really hit where I was like, you know, like, all this time, like, I wanted my mom to just understand, like, it's like, you know, like why isn't she, like, just listening, like, to what I'm saying? Like, why is it that she keeps asking the same thing over and over and over again? And then it just kind of hit me. I was like, you know, I just want one day when she asks that same question again, I don't have the reaction that I have now, which is, like, immediate, like, anger or just, like, annoyance or whatever, right? Like, I want to be able to, like, take it in and be like, oh, that's mom, you know? And just, like, take it in with, like, a very light heart and be like, that's just who she is, right?
I had explained to my mom because she has this one annoying behavior where she has to get her way.
Yeah.
And I told her, she goes, and her response to me after, you know, and this was not even that long, it was like maybe a couple months ago. And because we talk on the phone every other day. And I go, hey, you got to stop doing that shit. Like, that stuff annoys the hell out of me and I don't want to do it. She goes, well, that's just how I am, so you have to deal with it. And I said, well, listen, I actually don't have to deal with it. I could just stop calling you.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to stop doing this stuff. And she goes, well, this is just a habit that I have. I was like, well, just because it's something that you do doesn't mean that it's good.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that people have to stay around for it. I was like, you got to change the shit. I was like, you have a very, very short temper. I was like, it's worse than mine. And every time people don't do the things that you tell them to do, you decide that it's okay to just go off.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. I said, listen, you have maybe 20 good years left in this world, right? And I was like, I have another maybe, 40.
Yeah.
Those 20 years that we're spending together, I want it to be happy. I don't want to fight. I don't want to do anything else. If you're telling me that I have to stay around for your bad behaviors because you don't want to change it, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I was like, you got to stop doing this. I was like, control this shit. She goes, I'm old. I can't change. I was like, I don't believe that shit. I was like, you can change. You don't want to change because it's uncomfortable. Because you feel that because you have whatever X amount of years that you've lived, that you're done. I'm like, you're not done. Because we're still going to have a relationship. So unless you want us to not talk on the phone, then you got to fucking fix this thing. And so she says, basically what it was is that I told her that she likes to complain about my habits too much on the phone. I was like, when we talk, if it's just about you chastising me, we're not having conversations.
Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta bring something else to the table besides you complaining about the stuff that I'm not doing right. And so she's getting better. She goes, well, let me just complain a little bit. I was like, fine, complain a little bit, but when I tell you it's too much, you have to stop. She goes, okay, let me just say this. I was like,
That's
okay.
cute.
So we kind of, we meet in the middle. Like, so as long as she's trying, I'm okay.
Yeah.
If it's, you're wrong, I'm not gonna try, then hey, guess what? When I have a kid, and I will not allow my child to be around that, right? Because now this is my child. And so you have to respect these rules. If you don't respect me as an adult and an individual, you're not gonna respect the choices that I have for this kid that I have in the future.
Yeah.
And those conversations are fucking hard for me, guys. It's not easy. I'm not telling you, go out there and do what I do. It's easy. No, that shit was uncomfortable. It's hard for me to talk to my parents like that. It's hard for me to tell this woman who raised me as a child that this is what you have to do to make our relationship better, because now I'm stepping into a role as an equal versus me as a child talking to a parent.
Right.
And that's uncomfortable.
Super
weird.
uncomfortable, yeah.
It's weird that I have to tell my parents these things. It's weird, too, for me as an adult that I have to do things for my parents that they were able to do their whole life, but now that they're older, they can't do. These are like realities that are setting in for me as a kid. Like my dad was telling me the other day, he's like, your mom's getting a little more forgetful now that she's older. And I do a lot of things around the house, not because that I feel like I have to, or because I want to, so I feel like I have to because she's older now. She's not as strong as she used to be.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking about this because I'm thinking my parents are going to be around forever.
Right.
But my dad, he doesn't think that. He sees her as his wife, and he sees that my mom can't pick up things as well as she used to.
Yeah.
She's physically not as strong as she used to be. And that's why when they retire, they're retiring this year. Like I'm going to be spending a lot of like close time with them.
Oh, that's good.
Because she just, Asian people, they don't ever want to work on their health the way that they're supposed to.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, bitch. How about you stop eating salt for breakfast, huh? Eat a fucking vegetable that's not cooked down. Have a fucking raw broccoli every now and then. But she's like, no, this stuff is good for you. It's just like a pound of salt.
Yeah.
Because kimchi, every Korean side dish is salt.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, stop. And she goes, she goes, oh, I ate healthier today. I'm like, what did you eat? She goes, I just had melons today. I'm like, bitch, fucking who said that was healthier?
It's so true. Like, when I see my parents, I'm like, oh my God, you guys are getting like so much older. And I'm like thinking about like how old they are. Like my dad was born in 1950.
Shit, dude.
Yeah. He's like turning 72 this year.
Yeah, my mom's around that age too.
Oh my God. It's like insane to me because I'm like, oh my God. I was like, you're so old. And like, and my dad has been like really wholesome lately. Like super wholesome. Like I would try to like take the dogs out like around six to take them out to the park so they can like run around and stuff like that. Right. And I've invited my dad to come with me. And one time like that we did go, I was like, hey, Dad, what sounds really good right now? And he was like, what? I was like, a smoothie. And he was like, all right, yeah, let's go get a smoothie, right? And so now every time we walked, and I feel like it's become some sort of like tradition or just a habit at this point. Like every time we go and walk the dogs, he was like, hey, you want to get a smoothie first? And then we'll go walk the dogs? And I'm like, oh, that's so cute, And like there was another time where he was saying like that he needed a new pair of glasses and he needed like the progressive lenses where it's just like the kind of like the bifocal but like a more gradient kind of lens. And he was telling me that he lost his pair because I noticed he was wearing a different pair. And I told him, I was like, oh yeah, let's just go to this glasses place like Jin's, like I think they're great. Like they work for like Asian faces really, really well. And my dad was like, okay, yeah, sure. And I was like, well, how much did your other pair cost? And he was like, $460. And I was like, $460? I was like, where did you get it from?
Can he see through walls? What do you mean $460? God damn.
And I was like, is that with insurance? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, where did you get it? And he was like, America's Best. I'm like, oh, we're going to fucking Jin's. Like, I don't fucking care. Like, I'm taking you with me, right? So I take him to like the Santa Anita Mall, and he like tries out a different bunch, and like he was like, okay, cool. And we get the glasses, and it was $260.
Yeah.
Or sorry, not $260, $240. And it was like they were having a sale, I think, that day. It was like 40% off, but it was like $240 for the lenses that he need, and it fits on his face better. And it was just insane. And he was like so starstruck. He was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And he kept looking at the receipt. It was just really cute.
Asian people love deals. It gives them boners. He felt alive again. He's like, I'm having sex with your mom tonight. I saved $200.
Yeah. And so then like, afterwards he was like, I'm thirsty. And I was like, oh, there's a tea shop like in the mall. Like we'll just go there. And then he saw a Daiso and he went in and he had a great time. And his glasses were going to come in like a month later. And so then when they came in, he like called me and he was like, oh, hey, my glasses are here. Do you want to go and pick them up, go to the mall, pick them up, and maybe get some tea? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, you know? And I was just like, oh my God, my dad's getting so old. And he's just like...
Oh, he's just like spending time?
I mean, no, he does, you know, but like, it's very rare, right? But it was just like, it was a nice occasion. And like with my mom, like, I spent time with her like in the kitchen, and I think there was like this time where like she made chicken, and it's like been a long time.
You know what's so weird actually? Your mom actually fulfills the role of a typical Asian dad.
Oh, dude, yes. I mean, she's a tiger mom.
Yeah, but she's like, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because your mom reminds me of my dad, and your dad reminds me of my mom.
Yeah, my dad's literally a banana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he moved here when he was 13.
Oh, okay.
So he's like all about America, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom, I think she came in when she was like 19, 20.
Oh, okay.
Right in here, so like a lot of like the traditions like pretty much stuck to her. But yeah, like the other day, so like my mom, she made chicken. And it's been a while since she made chicken, right? And it was pretty good. And then she was like, "Oh, here, like have this dragon fruit." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, cool. Like I'll eat this dragon fruit, right?" And I ate a whole one. And like that night, I shat so much. I literally thought I was dying. Like I literally thought I was dying, and I was just like, "What the hell's going on?" Like I shat earlier in the day. Why am I shitting again? It's like I only do like maybe like one.
Does dragon
shit.
fruit fuck you up like that,
dude? So then the next morning, I come downstairs and my mom was like washing dishes, and she like looked at me. She's like, "Hey, did you poop?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then because I was like, I don't know where she's getting at with this conversation. And she was like, "You know, like, did you poop? Do you feel cleansed?" And I was like, I did poop.
I poisoned you.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm
trying to make you skinnier.
And I was like, yes, I did poop. She's like, yeah, dragon fruit would do that. And I was like, that was a dragon fruit. It was like, I thought I was literally dying because I thought it might have been food poisoning with the chicken. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And then she was like, yeah. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? She's like, I thought you knew. And I was like, bitch, I didn't know that dragon fruit would make me shit so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if anyone is having like digestive issues or constipation, dragon fruit is great. Just eat like a third first. Get that tested out.
Why would your mom just give you something that she knows is going to make you explode? Like, that's the funniest thing. She goes, you know what? Let's give her some dragon fruit. She needs to shit a little bit more today. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that wraps up this episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. Night and short and sweet.
Wow.
Night and short and sweet.
That went by so fast.
So are you going to start going? Well, you're not really doing social media as much, so...
No, I tried to do a little bit, like kind of like test it out to see how I feel about it. I think I'm going to try to post one TikTok. I'm gonna keep the bar low. Just one TikTok.
Hey,
dude. Just one TikTok.
Just fucking have fun with it. What's your Instagram again?
X Blue Apples.
X Blue Apples with a Z?
With a Z at the end, yeah.
Okay, you can check Julia Chow on that, and hopefully she'll start her YouTube channel. It's been about fucking 10 years, but she'll start it soon. Genius Brain every Sundays at 12 p.m. and we will catch you all next time. Peace.